Good, the recording has been started and it said me that if I am recording it without taking your permission, then it's gonna be the illegal work from my side. Fine, let me do the illegal work now. So our illegal activity is started. Then I'm presenting the screen. Just 1 second, please. Okay, so the first round of Garba started and completed as well. Good, fast. So here we are there on the task file. We are going to apply few functions to sort out those tasks. Let me go to the task number 1 for the day. Can someone read this out? I hope that's pretty much visible to all the students out there. Can someone read this out, please?
Yes, I'm reading it.
Please continue.
Task 1 is highlight the name of student who did not attend the first two sessions. And
Good.
we have to use conditional formatting. And worksheet name is task 2 arithmetic operation.
Thank you very much. So we are there on the task 2 arithmetic operations, which is the worksheet, which is part of the first file I had sent to all of you. Please open that first file. Now we want to highlight the name of the students based on the reference we are taking from some other cells, right? And if we want to take the reference from some other cells, then the conditional formatting looks little bit complex, but that's not very much complex that we will not be able to understand this. We'll have to frame few rules for this. Number one, the step you all will be taking is we would be first selecting all the cells on which we want to apply this formatting. See, I want to apply the formatting on all the names, right? So I'm selecting all the names right from the first to the last one. I want to apply on that. So once that is selected, the relevant data set is selected, then you can go to the home tab. And in the home tab, I would go to the conditional formatting. And in the conditional formatting, there is something called the new rule. Please click on the new rule and you have this kind of a dialog box. I hope everyone is there with me till now. May someone give me a confirmation, please?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to the last option which is available there on a select a rule type, because see here the formula needs to be customized, right? Some rules needs to be applied, and those rules are not given to us in the inbuilt function of conditional formatting. We need to do some creative thing. Now here in this case, frankly speaking, if I say that I want to highlight the name of the students based on the two conditions, and all these two conditions needs to be satisfied. Can someone give me an idea, throw some light on what are those two conditions? कोई बता सकता है क्या दो कंडीशन मैंने क्या? सर आपने तो एक ही बोला कि फर्स्ट टू सेशन में है, तो दो कैसे हो गई? दो हो रही है, कौन बताएगा कौन सी दो कंडीशन? Thinking from the perspective of the cells, Excel understands the language of cells, referencing of those cells. So you have the two conditions. Number one is, see here in this attendance worksheet, all the students who are absent are marked as 0 and all who are present are marked as 1. So I want the first cell of the attendance should also be 0 and the second should also be 0, and both needs to be satisfied together. It's not either or, because we want to highlight those students who were absent in all these two lectures. I hope you have got my question. So two conditions. Number one is the cell of his first attendance should also be 0 and the cell of his second attendance of the date should also be 0. And you people are aware that every formula starts with the sign of equal to, I wanna satisfy two conditions. Putting together. So I am using AND. Why I am using AND? Because sir, you want both of this to get satisfied, right? Then once I use the AND, I will be opening the bracket because जब कभी भी हम कोई फंक्शन यूज करते हैं उसके बाद में ब्रैकेट आता है। सर ब्रैकेट आ गया तो फिर क्या करेंगे? तो पहला कंडीशन देखो सर, पहला तो ये है कि हमारा जो ये सेल है ना डी 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 थ्री, ये जो डी थ्री है वो होना चाहिए इक्वल टू जीरो। नाउ सी इफ आई विल बी पुटिंग द डॉलर साइन बिफोर द डी एज वेल एज बिफोर थ्री, उसका मतलब ये हुआ कि वो हर बार डी थ्री के ऊपर ही अप्लाई करेगा। हमें हर बार डी थ्री के अप्लाई नहीं करना है, हमें तो क्या चेंज करना है? सी इफ इट गोज टू द डी फोर, नो, then against the name of the d4 it should apply the condition of d4. Against the name of say d5 it should apply the condition based on d5. So can someone tell me what should I do here in this case? We have done the referencing, right? We have done absolute as well as relative referencing. Try to run the logic of absolute and relative referencing here. We want that cell to be changed. If we'll be putting the dollar sign like just now we have got, then we'll not get the answer, because then it will apply the condition every point of time only on the d3. We want that cell to be changed. For the next one it should change to d4, for the next one it should change to d5, d6.
Sir, row changes, column is similar, column is the same, so we will be putting dollar sign only before the column. Means D, not the
Ab- Absolutely correct, absolutely correct. We don't want the column to get changed, we just want the rows to be changed. So I would keep pressing F4 over there. See, if I press the F4 for the one time, then it puts the dollar sign against 3. I do not want against 3. I want against D. The meaning of dollar sign against D and 3 we are keeping empty. That means D is committed, 3 is single. Is it clear? D है वो कमिट हो चुका है क्योंकि उसको उस कॉलम से बाहर जाने का कोई रास्ता नहीं है। D is still 3 is still very much independent. He is like कोई बात नहीं, अपना इधर नहीं तो कहीं और जगह पे हो जाएगा. Now here that shall be equal to 0. That is the one condition, because 0 stands for the absent, right? Now that is the one condition we have given. Now I would again be pressing the comma to go to the next condition. Now you can put as many conditions you want to write. Huh? If I would have said you that first 3 sessions should be 0, then you would have put 3 over here. That's fine. But here in this case, only 2 are there. Now, can someone tell me what will be the second condition? Anyone? Now it's easy. I guess I've clarified the logic.
Sir, again, dollar $E3 is equals to 0.
Absolutely correct, Mr. Daksh. So now in this case, it won't be the D3, it would be E3. So I'm selecting the cell which is E3 like this, but I would press F4 so that the dollar sign is against only the E and 3 is single. Single में मजे है भाई, independent हो, नीचे जा सकते हो. Then this cell should also be equal to 0. Then closing the bracket. Now this is going to be my condition, लेकिन हमारी अधूरी कहानी. The reason why there is an अधूरी कहानी, because कुछ formatting तो दो भैया. ये किसके लिए कर रहे थे? राम कहानी. पूरी रामायण खत्म हो गई तो फिर बोले कि राम कौन थे? भाई हम इसलिए कर रहे थे कि because we wanted to give some formatting based on these two conditions. So I would go to the format here. I would select the color of my choice. Let me select the green. Whatever you wanna, you can. Then I'm sure there should be the option of OK. Then here as well, there would be the option of OK. Let me check whether we have got those cells highlighted or not? Let me just check it. Oh my god, my selection got little bit wrong. I'm sorry. When I was selecting it, no, my selection of the name went little wrong. So I need to select those names again. I'm sorry. Let's do it again. So I'm going to the home, then conditional formatting, new rule. I'm using the fifth one, the sixth one, which is the last option in the new rule, starting with sign of equal to and opening the bracket. Oh no, highlight हो चुका कि नहीं हो चुका? नहीं वो अलग है. Okay, good. Then I would go to the cell number, which is D3. Keep pressing the F4, F4, F4. That should be equal to 0, comma, E3, F4, F4. Equal to 0, closing the bracket, selecting the formatting. Right. So all those cells in which these two conditions are satisfied are getting highlighted. I hope everyone would have got this. May I have the confirmation from you guys, please?
Done, sir.
Very good. So now I can apply just a filter, I won't have to search it manually again and again. Those people who were absent in my first two sessions. So I'll be just applying the filter. So how can I apply the filter? Once all those headings are selected, there is absolutely no need to select the heading as well. But I prefer that heading should be selected so that filter sign is not applied everywhere, Otherwise, तो उसको जहां मजा आएगा ना उधर वो filter apply कर देगा. You would be like नहीं नहीं भाई ये heading के ऊपर ही filter apply कर. Right? So we would go to the home tab, and from the home tab, I would select the sign of filter. So that's the filter. Now filter can be based on the color as well. So in the name, now there is one shortcut key. You may remember that shortcut key as well. That is Alt down arrow. So by pressing the Alt down arrow, my dear friend.
Sir, which filter did you apply?
What? Acha, from where did I apply
in the home page, where you gone?
In the home page, there is one function called sort and filter. See, it's there in the section of editing. Check it out.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Check it out. Here we have sort and filter. Then you click on this and there is something called filter over there. And they have given us the shortcut key to apply the filter as well, which is Control Shift L. इतनी बड़ी shortcut की मैं करूँ उससे अच्छा तो press कर लूँ जाके. कई बार है ना शॉर्टकट वे है ना वही लॉन्ग कट वे वो बन जाता है. Anyway, कोई बात नहीं आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now you can just activate this filter key by using the Alt down arrow. Some people would like, sir, Alt down arrow press करना जरूरी है? नहीं करो ना, कौन मना कर रहा है? No one is forcing you. You can click over here as well. But when you'll be clicking over here, at that time you'll be using the mouse. And the proficiency in Excel is inversely proportionate with the usage of mouse. Inverse relationship, one is increasing, another one is decreasing. So more and more use of mouse you have, that means you are not very much proficient in Excel. Some people will be like, आपने hypothesis testing किया, मेरी मर्जी, मेरे को करना है तो करूँ, ना करना है तो ना करूँ. Let's move ahead. So I'll be filtering only by the color, which is yellow. So these are the people who were absent in first two sessions of mine. बुलाऊंगा इनके पापा को कॉल करूंगा. देखो ये फिर मेरी गलती निकालते हैं कि मैंने अच्छा नहीं पढ़ा है तो पहले क्यों मिस किया. Okay, let's go to the task number 2, everyone, please. Highlight the name of students whose total is more than 400 or math marks are more than 80. Now you will have to apply this in task 3 cell referencing file. Please remember the conditions. Number 1 is total should be more than 400 or math marks shall be more than 80. I have a special inclination towards the mathematics, I would be like, so even if you do not have more than 400 in totality, if you have more than 80, then also you are likable for me, because math is something which is the language of this universe. Universe communicates to us in the language of mathematics. If you want to understand the universe, Mathematics is must. Task number 3. Can someone tell me what's going to be the step number 1 in this case? बताओ स्टेप नंबर 1 क्या होगा? हाईलाइट द स्टूडेंट नेम. तो स्टेप नंबर 1 क्या होगा? कोई नहीं बता रहा है. We would be applying this in the second table. Task number 3. See, the first step is always going to be the selection of the data where you want to apply this condition. That is always going to be the step number 1. Yes, you can change the range later on too by editing the rule. But the first step is always going to be selecting the data which is going to be highlighted. Now, based on what it's going to be highlighted, that's altogether a different matter that we'll see later on. Okay, now I'm going to the home tab, and in home tab I would go to the conditional formatting. I would go to the new rule, and the last option where we will be inserting the formula. Can someone tell me where should I start with? Everyone.
Is equal to sign.
Then good. फिर क्या करेंगे? अच्छा, दोनों सेटिस्फाई करनी है कि दोनों में से एक भी हो गई तो चलेगा?
We need any one, so will we use the or?
Very true.
Bracket open.
Very good. Okay, till that time she has done amazingly well. Now first is going to be the total. So what I'll do is I would select the cell where the total is there, which is there I guess in J16, right? So I'm clicking on that cell, and I would keep pressing F4 till the time there is a dollar sign only against J. So before 16 we do not want to put any dollar sign because 16 आपको मालूम है कि single है, J ही सिर्फ committed है. Then this cell shall be more than 400, right? So I'm using the sign of more than 400. Now to go to the next one, I would again press the comma, and my next condition is the math marks must be more than 80, yes or no? So can someone tell me what I should select now? I guess that is G16, right? So I'm selecting the G16 and keep pressing F4. So only against G now we have dollar sign. That shall be more than 80. So 2 conditions are over. अब क्या करना है आपको? Now I'll just be closing the bracket, as simple as that. Now I would select the formatting of my choice. What is the formatting I want to give? I just want say this color, blue color, to be highlighted. Pressing OK. Again pressing OK. So all these people are getting qualified for these 2 conditions. One was either more than 400, another one was you should have more than 80 in math. So you must have seen that some people would have been selected even though their total marks were lesser than 400. May we have the confirmation from the students, please? Have you got it?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Good. Others as well? Everyone should be doing it.
Yes, sir.
સર ઓલું F4 દબાણ એટલે ડોલરની સાઇન નથી ચેન્જ થતી.
તો મેન્યુઅલી કરી નાખ.
હા એવી રીતે થઈ જશે.
તો કેવી રીતના કરવાનું? મેન્યુઅલી કરી નાખો. આઈ ગેસ છે ને તારામાં ફંક્શન કી હશે વિશાલ?
યસ.
there would be a function key as well. So do not press F4. Press F4 along with the function key and F4. I guess that would work.
છે function key.
Right, do it. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's go to the task number 3. क्या है? So task number 3 is highlight all the students' name in green which contains Ria by using formula in a new rule of conditional formatting, not by text that contains. Okay, so that is there in a which worksheet we want to apply this? Sir, we want to apply this in a task number 2 worksheet. Okay, so let's go to that worksheet. So basically the task is all the students whose name starts with Ria, we want to highlight only those cells, but we do not want to use text that contains, there is one option in the conditional formatting which is text that contains. So here I'm not using that one. Text that contains is, I guess, there in a highlight cell rules, but we want to do it by using the formula. Why I'm doing this? Because I want to give you the exposure of the formula a bit, that's why. Can someone tell me what's going to be my step number 1? मेरे में ये रिया वगैरह ऑलरेडी है, तो मैं काम करता हूँ पहले जितने भी कंडीशनल रूल है ना वो मैं रिमूव कर देता हूँ. So selecting all the cells from where I want to remove the conditional formatting, then going to the home tab, then in conditional formatting, clear rules, and I want to clear rules only from the selected cells, not from the entire worksheet. So all the rules are now cleared. Okay, so I'm going to select अच्छा हर जगह पे क्या होना चाहिए रिया होना चाहिए. और बताएगा क्या कर सकते हैं?
Sir, select all the names. Go to the conditional formatting option. In rule type, select the option of format only cells that contain. The second one.
हाँ वो भी है, वो सेल दैट कंटेन वो तो है, वो नहीं करना, अपने को फॉर्मूला ही यूज करना है. वो लास्ट वाला है ना वो यूज करना है, इसलिए वो तो है ही, वो तो टेक्स्ट दैट कंटेन सेल दैट कंटेन्स वो तो हो ही जाएगा. यू आर राइट, एब्सोल्युटली राइट. अच्छा, दो ऑप्शन है हमारे पास. एक तो कहीं पे रिया लिख लो और फिर हम एक्सेल को बोलेंगे कि ये देख भाई ये रिया नाम है ना, उसको सर्च मार. मैं जहां पे बोल रहा हूँ उधर सर्च मार. दैट इज द वन ऑप्शन. Or we'll be typing the RIA in the formula itself, and that formula would be of the search. Right, so what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm selecting all the cells where I want to apply this formatting. Now why I'm doing this? Because see, you will be learning the search option as well, no? That's why. So I'm going to the home tab, then in the conditional formatting, then in the new rule, the last option where I want to use the formula. Some people like, sir, आपने formula use करना ही है, अब तो मन बना के बैठे हो, तो मेरी मर्जी, मेरे को यूज करना है तो क्यों ना करूं. Okay, so let me just go through the search option first of all. So how does that search option looks like, so if you start with the equal to, say you are using the search, that's nothing but you are trying to find what you want to find. So what you want to find, I want to find Ria, right? And if anything is inserted in text in the formula, it must be there in a double inverted comma. Please put it in the back of your mind. When we were using the if and nested if, no, at that time also I said that whenever the text will form a part of the formula, the text, those alphabets will always be there in a double inverted comma. So I am starting with a double inverted comma, writing the name Ria, closing the double inverted comma, then I would be pressing comma. Now it would ask me within text, right? So say here I cannot give the range actually. I'll have to select only the cell, So say I'm selecting the cell where Ria is there. Say I'm selecting this cell, right, which is C144. Then closing the bracket, pressing the enter, you would get 1. So it is giving you the answer in logical manner, 0 or 1. If the condition will not be satisfied, it would straight away give you the false. And if the condition is satisfied, it would give you 1, which is true. So Excel takes by default the logical sequence, 0 as false, 1 as true. So here in this case, it has taken 1. That means there was a RIA in that particular cell. And if we'll be applying for a next cell, I guess it would give you something else. It won't give you any value at all. Now the same function we'll be using for the conditional formatting. Right? So how I'll be using it, let's check it out. I'll be selecting all the cells first of all. Now you would be like, sir, तो अगर एक ही सेल को सिलेक्ट कर सकते, रेंज को तो सिलेक्ट कर ही नहीं सकते, तो फिर करेंगे क्या? तो फिर क्या करेंगे? कोई बता पाएगा कुछ? I am also exploring right now with you. You would be finding some way. Guess करो, अपन को थोड़ी ना ऐसे एकदम सही आंसर दे ही देना है. बताओ तो.
Sir, last time we did like we have kept the column same constant, and we have changed the row name. I mean row numbers. So we can do the same like $C and type only 3. Can it?
Right. See, now if you are manually using the search, no, then you cannot give the range over there. But if you'll be using the search in the conditional formatting, then this range option is possible. Let's see how. Say you're going to the home, then in the conditional formatting, new rule, you would start with the sign of equal to search. Right? Now, in search, I would open the bracket. What was the first argument? That was in the text, right? So it must be there in a double inverted comma. That's RIA. So closing the double inverted comma now. Then the second argument in that syntax was selecting a cell. Now see, here in this case, you select the cell, but keep it open. Keep it single from both the sides. कहीं पे भी commitment नहीं. Row में भी commitment नहीं देना है और column में भी commitment नहीं देना है. So column can also be changed, row can also be changed. So जहां जहां पे हमने apply किया है ये, वहां पे वो रो को भी चेंज करेगा, कॉलम को भी चेंज करेगा. So what I'll do is I would just select C3, right? Now C3 must be single from both the sides. There should be no dollar against the C. There should be no dollar before the 3 as well. So I would keep pressing F4, F4, F4. I would just put C3. Why I have put C3? Because it should change the range for all the things I have selected. Yes, you can keep the C as well locked. That's fine, no worries. But you will not be able to use this 3 locked when your range of the data would be selected and 2 or 3 columns would be there in that selection. So at that time you'll not be able to use this. That's why it's better to keep it C3 only right now. तो कॉलम को भी फिक्स नहीं करना है, 3 को भी फिक्स नहीं करना है. सो जितनी भी रेंज हमने सिलेक्ट की है ना, वो रेंज के अंदर कहीं पे भी आ रहा है तो वो हाईलाइट हो जाना चाहिए. So I'm just writing C3, closing the bracket, and now I would format and select the option of any color from there. I would press OK. Let's check that whether the RIA names are getting color. Oh, इसमें तो RIA में क्या हुआ मालूम है? कौन बताएगा क्या हुआ ये?
Yes, sir. It contains all the name, surname everywhere where there is RI, YA or RI starting with that.
Very true, right. तो इसका भी लॉजिक तो मिलेगा अपने को. कोई बताएगा? एक लॉजिक है, मेरे को याद आ गया. क्या कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये सरनेम है ना, उसमें भी रिया आ रही है, तो वो सरनेम वाले रिया को भी सिलेक्ट कर रहा है। इसमें कहाँ पे रिया आई है, प्रियांशी, अच्छा प्रिया में ये प्रिया में रिया आ रही है। फाइन, इसको फिर से करने की जरूरत नहीं है, जस्ट गो टू द होम and conditional formatting. See, whenever the first name is Riya, no, you must have observed that between the first and the second name there is a space, right? So you can put the space as well in the formula along with the name of Riya. So I'm going to the manage rules. We have already taken few rules over here, right? So let's just select the first rule and in that edit rule. So I would go to the Riya और ए के बाजू में अपना माउस कर्सर रखूंगा एंड देन आई वुड प्रेस द स्पेस बटन. So what's the meaning of the space button? That means all the names where the RIA is given to you and after that the space is also inserted. Only those cells would be inserted. Otherwise it will not be. Right? So I'm using the space there, pressing the OK and again pressing the OK. Now let's check that whether the RIA cells, see, RIA is selected now.
Isika, Milan, Meghani, that is also highlighted. Yasraj Si, Rajendra Si, Zala, that is also highlighted.
मेरे को तो कोई नहीं हुआ, मेरे को तो रिया ही हुई सब. तेरा ऐसा कैसे हो गया?
सर मेरे भी रिया नहीं आई.
आपकी भी नहीं हुई? ठीक है कोई बात नहीं. विल बी डूइंग इट राइट फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट. कितने की हुई वो तो बताओ, किसी की हुई कि नहीं हुई?
यस सर, आ गई.
अच्छा, ये भाई की रिया, गुड, ये भाई की रिया आ गई. लेट्स मूव अहेड. नाउ सिलेक्टिंग दिस entirely, let's apply it all together newly. I'm just removing all the things we have already done till now. क्लियर रूल्स कर देते एक बार, तो जितने भी रूल्स अप्लाई हो चुके वो क्लियर हो जाए. Sir, after that we would go to the home tab, then I would go to the conditional formatting, new rule. Now going to the formula. Now here I'm starting the formula, starting with the sign of equal to. Then I would use the option called search. Now in search, after that obviously the bracket needs to be started, right? Now the first argument in the search syntax was the text which you wanna search. So I am starting with the sign of double inverted comma. Now it's the double inverted comma, it's not the single inverted comma for 2 times. Please do not make the mistake over there. Then I would write Riya. Then I would use the space here, right? Space. After Riya, I am putting the space. Then closing the double inverted comma. Then putting the comma to go to the next parameter of the syntax. And if you can recall it, the next parameter of the syntax was to give the cell range, right? Now here in this case, I am just selecting the first cell. That's gonna be my C3. Now by default, it will take only the C3. That means the dollar sign is inserted against C and against 3 as well. That means only C3 में वो search करेगा. हम बोलेंगे भाई ओ भाई भाई रुक रुक रुक, खाली C3 में नहीं, तेरी रेंज चेंज होती जानी चाहिए. तेरी रेंज है वो 3 की भी चेंज कर और C की भी. C तो ऑब्वियसली बाय डिफॉल्ट नहीं होगा क्योंकि our range of selection is there in the C only. So even if you put the dollar sign against C, that's fine, no worries. But if you have selected 2 or 3 columns, then you cannot put the dollar sign against C. Then you want the C to be changed to the D and D to be changed to the E as well, right? If the selection of the data is there, spreaded in 3 to 4 columns. Here in this case, sir, it's there in a 1 column only. So what I'll do is, I would just press F4, F4, F4. Let's keep it C3 only. So for the entire selection of the data, it will keep on changing the range and it will apply the formula. Now closing the bracket. Now I would go to the format. Let me apply a different color in this case. Yellow, yellow, dirty, fellow. Pressing OK. Again pressing OK. Let me check whether it's happening or not. आई रिया आ गई आ गई आ गई आ गई जितने भी रिया थे वो मेरे सब हाईलाइट हो रहे देखो येलो में इज इट हैपनिंग नाउ मे आई हैव द कंफर्मेशन प्लीज
सर अभी भी रिया नहीं मिली मेरे को तो
अभी भी नहीं मिली यार तो मेरे को लग रहा है
नहीं
एप्पल के
सर
अंदर कुछ अलग होगा फिर गौरव इज
राइट
इट हैपनिंग
पॉसिबल सर
No, sir, it is not happening. Let me check. Like, see, conditional formatting. I'm managing the rule, and in that,
You cannot even the select.
sir, see, in edit rule, I apply the formula is equal to search bracket open, then double inverted comma ria space double inverted comma, then comma, and then C2 and bracket close. This is the formula.
Okay.
But what it is highlighting, according to us, it's highlighting Parth Rajeshbhai Parmar, Isika Milan Meghani.
पार्थ परमार को हाईलाइट कर रहा है वो
हाँ मतलब रिया जिग्नेश जिल्का इज रिटर्न राइट ऑन 134 सेल नंबर उसके ऊपर वाला जो है ना पार्थ राजेश भाई इज हाईलाइटिंग दैट एक्सेल इज हाईलाइटिंग दैट जो रिया रूपानी है उसके ऊपर वाला इसी का है वो हाईलाइट कर रहा है रिया वाया है उसके ऊपर वाला जो है वो हाईलाइट कर रहा है
अच्छा
लेकिन
मतलब
रिया
वो
नहीं हो रहा ऊपर वाला हाईलाइट हो रहा
ऊपर वाले सेल को ले रहा है वो
है हाँ
मिली तेरे केस में भी ऊपर वाले सेल को ही ले रहा है वो
आई डोंट नो व्हाई
उसने सेम सर लिखा
हाँ इसीलिए
हमें भी मिली
अच्छा तो ऊपर वाले सेल को क्यों हाईलाइट कर रहा होगा वो व्हाट कुड बी द रीजन
sir might because I have taken the headings also in selection हो सकता है ऐसा कुछ
हाँ राइट भाई राइट
if I'm not taking heading as a selection then it would be
would
taking
happen hard कर see your selected cell that is
okay
that should be the first one from your selected range of the data yes true very true Saraswati yes true see the simple rule is when you are using the conditional formatting and you want to use the formula there no then the selected cell must start with the first cell of your selected data आपने सिलेक्ट कहीं और से किया और उसके नीचे से आप ये कर रहे हो तो फिर वो ऑटोमेटिकली उस तरीके से रेफरेंसिंग ले लेगा और ये करके देखो कि हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है फाइनल
हो गया
कंफर्मेशन
सर इट्स डन
वेरी गुड मिली थैंक यू वेरी मच I hope it's happening in others cases as well. Miss Shreya, Miss Titli, Miss Miss Millie has already given the confirmation. Mr. Dipesh, Mr. Daksh, Mr. Vishal, Mr. Mitesh, Mr. Jaydev too. Okay, let's move ahead.
yes sir done it is now
Good, very good, good. Let's move ahead. What are the next task? Next task we have here. Now it says that generate the random numbers between 5 to 10 in a new worksheet 50 entries. Fine, no worries. Let's open a new worksheet from here. You click on this plus sign so your new worksheet is getting open. And here we are supposed to find the random numbers from 5 to 10, right? So I'm using the sign of equal to and using the function called rand between. So rand between gives you the idea about the random numbers. Now here in this case, I would be selecting bottom as 5 and top would be 10, closing the bracket, pressing enter. But sir, I want it for 50 entries. So I'm inserting one more column before that, starting with 1 equal to Now I would just give the serial numbers here, right, without doing it again and again. You people know that how to use the formula to find the serial numbers. Upar wala cell plus 1, so you get 2. Now copying that and selecting the range of the cells and pasting it up to 50. So I have it up to 33 and I have got 50 numbers now. Now, sir, obviously the random formula that we have applied, we are not going to apply it again and again. I'm just copying this. Can someone tell me how can I select it up to the last cell of the active data range in this case? If you can just recall the shortcut key I had given.
Just double click on that cell, so it will automatically generate till 50 serial.
हाँ लेकिन अभी मेरे को देखो मेरे को सिलेक्ट करना है. So if I want to select up to the last cell of the active data range, then what I'll do? If I do it, no, like this, control shift down arrow, then it will go to the last row, एकदम last. कॉपी तो कर लिया. याद आ रहा है कुछ? बाजू वाले की सीढ़ी से नीचे उतर जाना. Okay. So in this case, when you do not have the CD, no, you go to बाजूवाला's room, बाजूवाला's घर, उसमें जाके you go down. तो बाजू वाले की सीढ़ी यूज करके नीचे चलेंगे, देन अपने खुद के घर में आ गए और अब नीचे से अपनी सीढ़ी बनाना शुरू करते हैं. So now I would be control shift up arrow, pressing enter. I would have random numbers. Now thing with the random number is that if you'll be making the changes anywhere in the worksheet, no, it will keep on getting changed. So what I'm doing is I just wanna keep the value of the random numbers. I do not want that to get changed, otherwise my entire result will keep on getting changed. So I'm selecting it right from the first to the last one, control C, and at that place only I would go to the paste spatial. I wanna paste all these values over here only. So I'm using only the values. That means the formulas will no longer be copied. The values would be pasted on those cells. So pressing OK. So I have the pure values now. Now here in this case, if you wanna highlight one standard deviation above. Now you people are aware about the normal distribution of the data. May I have the confirmation from your side? Have you heard anywhere normal distribution of the data?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now see, normal distribution of the data gives you the idea about, you know, in the range of the data which is given to you, how many of you are nearby the average, how many of the data is, you know, one standard deviation above, one standard deviation below. So this is how the pattern looks like. If you go through the normal distribution of the data, no, this is how the pattern looks like. Say this is the mean, which is the average, right? So that's the average of marks. Now here in this case, if you take this portion, no, which is 1 SD, this is the standard normal distribution, 1 SD. So that means mean plus 1 SD. So SD is the standard deviation. That means that is the average difference between the fluctuations we have seen over the data, you know. Now in this portion, all the entries which are one standard deviation above the mean will be falling. Here in this case, the two standard deviation entries, all the entries which are, you know, more than one but lesser than two standard deviations, all those entries would be falling over here in this portion. And all the data which is falling in a 3 standard deviation would be falling over here, and after that this would be more than 3 standard deviations. So on left hand side as well. So if you closely analyze the probability of this, no, around 34% of the data entries will be over here in this portion, 34% over here. So around 68% of the data entries falls over here in this category. That is one standard deviation below and one standard deviation above. So standard deviation is nothing but the average difference between the data points. So say for example, the marks are 10 and standard deviation is 2, right? So I can fix the range that if I reduce one standard deviation from average, no, then the marks would be 8, right? And if I add one standard deviation in the average, the marks would be 12. So you may see that if the standard deviation and mean are known to me, no, then I can fix the range that from 8 to 12, the 68% of the data entries are falling. That is an approximate probability distribution. You may check it in the Z table as well, which gives you the idea about the probability distribution. Similarly, here in this region, 13% of the entries are there, and here as well 13% entries. That is the two standard deviations. So 16 plus 26 kitna hua? 96, 94. So for rest of the area, only 6% of the entries would be there. Now data is generally normally distributed only. Now see, that's the natural rule as well. So many things in the nature is normally distributed. If you take the stock market returns, it's normally distributed. If you take, the rules of the nature, they are normally distributed. So majority of the entries are obviously falling nearby the mean and within the one standard deviation range from the mean. So around 60% of the entries are falling within the one standard deviation on negative and on right hand side. Now here in this case, while doing the data analysis, if you want to highlight all the cells which are more than say which are two standard deviations above the data you have. So let me just find the mean and standard deviation. If I do it manually, first of all, I will be finding the average like this. Now I would be selecting the range of the data, closing the bracket, and I have got the average. That is 7.46. In my case, the average is coming 7.46. Now, if I find the SD, which is the standard deviation, standard deviation is nothing but the volatility you see, the fluctuations you see. So what is the average fluctuations you have seen in the data range you have observed here? So that you can find by using say STD function. That is the standard deviation function. Now if you want to find the standard deviation for the entire population, then you would be selecting it P. But if you feel that, sir, it's not entire population, it is the sample we have taken from the population, then you would put S. So let's assume that we have the entire population of the data. So I'm using P and I'm selecting the range of the data right from the first to the last one, closing the bracket, and here I have got the SD. Right? So basically, if I want to know that what is the range above which the two standard deviations data would be falling, so that's nothing but average plus 2 times standard deviation. So average plus 2 times standard deviation comes at 10.69. I guess no entries would be falling at that side in this case because we have generated the random numbers. But if you want to check that, sir, कौन सी entries ऐसी है जो one standard deviation से ऊपर है, and why you want to do this? You want to do this because you want to know that who are the tops. If it is one standard deviation above it, no, that means you'd be able to at least understand the probability that they are falling in that kind of a probability extreme on the upper side. That helps you a lot while doing the data analysis. Similarly, if you want to see that what are your extremes, bottom extremes. So one standard deviation below, two standard deviations below. What are the entries which are 3 standard deviations below? And you want to highlight only those entries. Now conditional formatting can sort out the task for you. It already gives you the one standard deviation above or one standard deviation below. You won't have to do it manually. On this number, if I want to see that what are the entries which are lesser than one standard deviations from the mean, I would first select the entire data. Everyone would do it. Then I would go to the home tab. Then in the conditional formatting, I would select the new rule And in the new rule, format only the values that are above or below average. Select that. And here you have the various option, So right from 2 standard deviations below to 3 standard deviations below, you have the various options. Say if I want the 1 standard deviation below, so I'm selecting 1 standard deviation below. So all those entries which are, 1 standard deviation below will be highlighted. So when I say 1 standard deviation below, that means you reduce 1 SD from the average. So whatever the value that you get, उसके नीचे कौन कौन से values हैं? That helps a lot. I tell you, the entire data science is too much dependent on the normal distribution of the data. At so many number of statistical tests, while using so many mathematical models, while doing so many types of analysis, you assume that the data is normally distributed. And if the data is normally distributed and you are aware about it, then it becomes pretty easy for you to get some conclusions out of it. Okay, now I'm selecting the format, whatever I want to, say the red, pressing OK, pressing OK. So all the entries which are below the 1 standard deviation are highlighted. So you won't have to manually find the standard deviation. You won't have to manually find the mean. You won't have to manually apply this formula. You won't have to manually go and check each and every cell which are getting qualified, and you won't have to highlight those cells manually. Excel can simplify the task for you like anything. I have taken the explanation time of 10 minutes, but I felt that it was important to do so. We have one lecture for the statistical functions as well. At that time too, some context will be required, for the data research. So I've given you the brief idea about it right now. May I have the confirmation from the students, please? Are we there up to this point? Have you understood it well, all of you?
सर वन डाउट.
Yes, please. Why not?
सर आपने डेटा के नीचे एवरेज निकाला और स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन निकाला, वो स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन कैसे निकाला आपने?
STDEV function. STDEV function. And in in STDEV you have two options. One starts with P, another starts with S. So if you observe the formula, if you are finding the standard deviation for the entire population, the formula looks like sigma x minus x bar divided by n. That is there in a square root, right? That's the formula you find for the you take for the standard deviation. But when you do it for the sample, you
Yeah.
put like this: sigma x minus x bar divided by n minus 1. So
Okay.
SD for the population will be different from the SD of the sample.
Okay, sir.
Is it clear, everyone? Shall I move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Good. So I have received the confirmations from Vishal, Deepesh, Hemali. Others I'm assuming that they are getting it. If not, let me know. बेटा मैं अंतर्यामी नहीं हूँ, मैंने ज्योतिष शास्त्र नहीं पढ़ा है, तो मुझे नहीं मालूम है कि बच्चों को आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है, तो मुझे कम्युनिकेट करना पड़ेगा आपको. लेट्स गो टू द नेक्स्ट टास्क. अच्छा, ये वन स्टैंडर्ड डिवीजन हो गया. गुड. Okay, so conditional formatting we have seen in detail now. Let's go to the data validation. Let's start exploring the data validation now. So I'm just giving you 4 minutes of break, 5 minutes of break. 7:05 is there at 7. Sorry, 5:04 is there at 5:10. Again, we are meeting with full of energy and enthusiasm. So in 5 minutes again, we all will be meeting with data analysis. Fine, it's already 5:11. I hope everyone is there ready with the full of enthusiasm and energy. જે લોકોએ ખાધું ન હોય તો થોડુંક ખાઈ લ્યો, જે લોકોને થોડીક એનર્જી ડાઉન હોય તો એ લોકો થોડુંક પાણી પી લ્યો. Let's move ahead. I know it's quite hectic for you to attend this many lectures, but that's how the life is. You will have to keep challenging the life like anything, you know. लाइफ को है ना कभी भी सिंपथी मत दो. अरे बेचारा थक जाएगा, अरे बॉडी देखो मेरी कितनी थक गई है. You people have too much of potential, let me tell you. We all have a lot of potential. We are not running as per our potential. 5-10 hours of the lectures is not something which is beyond our potential. It's well within the potential. The only thing is we are not habituated to, to do this. Fine. Is everyone ready? May I have the confirmation from the few students?
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you very much. Going to introduce a function called data validation in this case. Now, sir, what is this data validation first of all? As the name itself suggests, it's a validation. When I say validation, that means you are putting the restrictions on it. So what kind of restrictions would be there? The restrictions could be n number of restrictions related to the data entry. You do not want to allow everyone to randomly go into any cell and write anything which is beyond your expectations or your requirement. That's why you put the restrictions on the cells. So anyone who wanna put anything must satisfy those restrictions first, otherwise they will be not allowed to enter anything. So how can we do it? Very easy. There is something called data validation in the data tab. So let's go to the task number 6. Allow only marks above 50 and below 100 for data entry in a task 3 cell referencing. So I have the task 3 cell referencing, and here I want to allow only that data which is either lesser than, or sorry, which is more than 50 and lesser than 100. So here in this case as well, the first task is always going to be the selection of the data where you want to apply the restrictions. Now some people would be like, sir, if the marks are already there and then you put the validation, then what will happen? See, if someone has already put 48, then it will not rewrite 48 to 50, right? It will remain 48 only. Then what's gonna be the crack behind it? Fine, we'll go to that. So first of all, first apply 50 to 100 data validation. So I'm doing it. I'll go to the data tab. From data tab, you go to the data validation. Clicking on the data validation, going to the settings. And in settings, I would allow only the whole numbers. And in whole numbers as well, I would be giving the range of between, not greater than or equal to, it's between, because and here please put it in the back of your mind. You tell the Excel that what should be allowed. You're not telling the Excel that what shouldn't be allowed. You are telling the Excel what should be allowed, right? So that is your validation. So you tell to the Excel कि भाई तुझे क्या allow करना है. So I would say minimum shall be 50 and maximum shall be 100. As simple as that. Whole numbers. Now I would just press OK. And if you try to insert say 101, it would give you this kind of a message that this value doesn't match the data validation restrictions defined for this cell. Then you would have the next question. Say if this restriction shall be from 60 to 100, then what should we do? तो फिर से सिलेक्ट करते हैं अपन पूरा डेटा जितना हमने किया था, उसमें फिर से डेटा के ऊपर जाएंगे. Now instead of 50 to 100 we want 60 to 100, right? So again going to the data validation. So if you have selected that range only, then by default the previous range is given to you. So instead of 50 I'm putting 60. 50 I'm putting 60. Then I would press OK. Now you people must have observed that, see, whatever the data which is already there lesser than 60 is not getting changed. 53 is there, 59 is there, 57 is there, so many hell number of marks are given to you which are lesser than 60. Then how you can identify which one is the invalid data? Can someone tell me what you can do now?
Circle the invalid data from the data tools option. Sorry, the data validation option.
Very true, Miss Hemali, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes, sir.
Good. So we can go to the data, and from there I would go to the drop down arrow of this data validation, and you have something called circle invalid data. So which is already there. You have given the restrictions later on, and you want to check that which one is the invalid data right now. You would click on this, and you may see that these are the various cells which are invalid. It's been circled out. I hope everyone would have got this. May we have the confirmation on this, please? All of you? Shall I move ahead? Okay, Saraswati has got this. Good to see that.
Sir, a question. Hello.
Yes, I'm listening to you. Please.
Sir, scroll above
Where?
table on your screen. Why there is also circles in this, as we have not given the validation there.
वहां पे भी हमने कुछ वैलिडेशन पहले दे के रखा है. वी हैव गिवन द वैलिडेशंस ओवर देयर. अब ये जो सर्कल आउट कर रहा है ना, वो हर एक वैलिडेशंस के ऊपर दे रहा है. तुमने ऊपर वाले टेबल में भी कुछ वैलिडेशंस अप्लाई किए होंगे पहले.
सर हमने तो नहीं किए. अभी के लिए जो डेटा सिलेक्ट किया वो सिर्फ नीचे के टेबल में ही किया ना.
मैंने किए होंगे आई गेस. 90 से ऊपर वाला किया होगा. देखो मैं बताता हूँ. होम टैब, देन sorry, not home, data validation. See, that validation is already applied on the data, which is a decimal. Maximum is 90. That validation is already applied. Now I would have applied it on this worksheet, and I would have given this to you while doing some task on the data validation earlier. I would have applied it, and that worksheet has been circulated with you guys, right? So that's why you are also getting the same. Is it clear? So this circling out the invalid data is applicable on the entire worksheet for all the validations you have given in the past and in present. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Good. So see, you have the option of clear all as well. So if you feel that obviously there would be some, or I mean, already there would be some data validations here, you can clear this out. As simple as that. Just clear it and it will be gone. Then you would be like, son, what's the meaning of this? If anyone who is working on this data file and he would first clear this all and then he will start putting the entry, then what's the meaning of this? For that, we have certain security features. No. Now, security features will be covered in the depth in some time. So not everyone would be getting the access to edit the cells. Some people might just get the read-only view. Some people might just get the, the range in which they can edit the cells. Outside the range, they will not be able to select any. So those security features we'll see later on. Okay, anyway, let's move ahead now. What's going to be the next task? Create a drop-down list of male-female options near to name of the students in which task 3 cell referencing. Right, so task 3 cell referencing, I'm going over there. Now next to the names, we want gender to be written. Now see here in this case, I do not want anything to be written next to the name. I just want the genders to be written. And no one should be making any mistake in those genders as well. So basically speaking, I'm creating a list actually, list of validations. So anyone who will be, inserting the column and putting the data over there. Say I'm inserting the column over here between B and C. And here I'm preparing the column of say gender. So no one should be able to put anything beyond male and female, which I have given over here. So anyone would randomly type anything, it should be disallowed. Now here in this case, you do not have only one text. You can prepare the list of your choice. No, here in this case, there are two options, male and female. It could be various other bifurcations and categories as per your needs. It could be like, above average student, below average student, average student. It could be like, the specializations they have selected, finance, HR, marketing, or any categories, obviously. So what's going to be my step number 1? Now, before telling the Excel to give the restrictions on the gender, first the list must be written somewhere because that list will be taken as a reference by Excel. So where this list should be? Now that can be at any place, wherever you feel comfortable. So here I want to put say in O, and here I'm writing male and female. So these are the two options I want to give. Some people would be like, sir, कितने authoritative हो आप, एक और भी ऑप्शन डाल दो ना. तो कोई बात नहीं, तीसरा भी डाल देते हैं. Let's take the LGBT community along with us, So we have male, female, and others. Now, once the list is created, now you can give the reference of this list to the data validation. How? Let's see that. Going to the data, then in the data, again going to the data validation. And in data validation, you have in allow option, the option of list. So select the list from there. Right? Now you want to create the drop down arrow as well along with that. So please ensure that this is ticked. If it is not ticked, then yes, the cell list reference will be taken, but it will not create a drop down arrow for you. Here we want to create the drop down arrow as well. So you click on the drop down arrow. So all the options, which are the relevant options must be visible to you. So now I need to select the source. So what is the source of this list? I would click on this button and I would select male, female, and others, because obviously that is my source, right? Now I would press enter. So this is the source of my list. I would press OK now. So what was my first task? First of all, I had created the gender column. Oh my God, sorry. अपन ने सिलेक्ट तो किया ही नहीं था ना किधर अप्लाई करना है. Oops. चलो फिर से करते हैं. जेंडर जहां जहां पे ये लिस्ट अप्लाई करना है उसको सिलेक्ट कर लो पहले. Select those cells where you want to apply these validations. Once those cells are selected, then go to the data and then we would go to the validation again. List, selecting the source. Male, female, and others, pressing enter. I would again press OK. And you must have observed that in gender, the drop down arrow is created and you can activate the drop down arrow by Alt down arrow button. So press Alt down arrow button, putting together the shortcut key. Select any one which is applicable. Apply some due diligence before allocating the genders to everyone randomly. Then say this is male, and you once your mouse cursor is over there, no, you can press the enter, simple. So you go to the next one. Over there too you have the list. Activate it by Alt down arrow. Select female. I hope that's pretty much clear now. Has everyone got this? May I have the confirmation, please? Okay, Miss Saraswati has got it. Miss Hemali too. मिस मिली as well. सर प्लीज प्लीज मैं 3 बार जेड आया, कोई बात नहीं, चलो फिर से करते हैं. Now that tells you about the intensity. You know, one person said me that, sir, if you get the WhatsApp message like hi, just a second. So if you get the WhatsApp message like hi, this is different. Then you get HII, this is different. Then you get HIIIII, this is also different. This three conveys the different emotions, you know. So sir में है ना वो 3-4 बार Z है ना, तो that conveys a different emotion right now. That means intensity is too much. Fine, no worries. Let's go. We are going to repeat this. First of all, I would create a list. Now ऐसा ही task आने ही वाला है, तो उस time पे फिर से हो जाएगा. चलो, let's go to the next task. Let's go to the next task. वैसा ही task है, वैसा ही फिर से आएगा, कोई बात नहीं, अपने बनाए हैं भैया टास्क. कोई भी टेंशन मत लो, जब तक आपको नहीं समझ में आ रहा ना, अपन इधर से जाने वाले नहीं, तो गिव अप तो बिल्कुल नहीं करना. Create a drop down list of all the specializations next to the name of the students. Now say we are offering right now the 3. There are various other specializations as well, but let's take HR, marketing and finance. So first of all, you would be creating the list somewhere. So let me go to the task 3. Now obviously, sir, before that we should have the column as well, no, for this. So I'm inserting the column between D and E and giving the heading specialization. You can, you know, check that whether the spelling inserted is correct or not by pressing F7. So press F7 and you would come to know various spellings. And now see, if you go to that cell and now if you press F7, no, then it would do, and then it would check the spelling only in that cell. So only in that cell the spelling check has been done. The spell check is perfectly fine. There is no problem in the specialization spelling. Press enter. Now I would be writing the 3 specializations which I want to offer. One is finance. Oh, finance अपना love है तो उसको पहले. Then you can write marketing. Then you can write HR. Marketing is a female friend. Finance is the girlfriend. So that's the difference between the two for me. Now I would select the data where I want to apply this. So selecting this, and then I would go to the data tab from here, data validation. And in data validation, we would go to the list, and list must be, sir, all the specializations starting from the first to the last one. Pressing enter. Again pressing OK. So those drop down buttons would have been created. You must check it. So you can, you know, activate that drop down button by using the shortcut key, which is Alt down arrow. So Alt down arrow को जैसे ही करते हो ये activate हो जाएगी. फिर down arrow से you can roam around, you can navigate from one to another, and just press enter. So that gets inserted. Now it eliminates your task of, you know, writing it repetitively. Once you have the list created, so 2 purposes are solved. Number 1 is you won't have to write it again and again, and number 2, which is, you know, the better reason while applying this, is the validation, that you do not want to allow any entry which is beyond this 3. So if you try to enter anything beyond the list of this, no, it should restrict you, right? So it is giving me some messages. Now I don't know what kind of a message it has given to me. This value doesn't match the data validation restrictions defined for this cell. Okay. Now here in this case, if I wanna customize the messages, then what could we do? So before that, let me just take the confirmation that you have done it. May I have the confirmation from the students, please, there? Those who said to repeat it, are you clear now?
Done, sir.
Good, good. Okay, so we have received it from Mr. Dhruv, Miss Dipesh, others. Where are we? Are we getting it? Miss Saraswati, Mili, Vishal, Himali, Gaurav. Good, sir. Good, good.
Well done.
Great. Now, the next thing is we want to customize the message, you know. So, see, if you two kinds of a message you give to the people over here. One is before they start entering the data, you want to show some message. See, whatever the validations which you have already inserted, no, how any person would come to know that you have inserted that validation first of all. So if you want to put one message, that must be visible on the face, you know. So whenever anyone would try to enter anything, that message is must visible right at the moment, you know, before entering the data. Now that's a one type of a message. Another type of a message is the error message. So this is after entering the data, if someone makes a mistake which is beyond the restrictions and validations we have given, then it should straight away reject it. So at that time, what kind of a message you want to show? So two types of message. One is before the entry, another one is after the entry. So say here in this case, we have given the validation of 50 to 100, right? So I would be selecting those cells where I want to give the message. So in the table number 2, I think we had given the restrictions. Then I would go to the data tab. Then in the validation. And in validation, obviously, sir, this is the validation we have already given. So there is something called input message over here, right? So if anyone would select that cell, that message would be displayed. So I'm ticking on that show this input message when the cell is selected. Now here you can give the title and the input message, whatever you want to give. Say I'm writing the title, कीड़े nahi chahiye. And then in the input message, I would be writing, it must be within 50 to 100. So I am just pressing OK. So I hope that message is visible to you now. कीड़े बिल्कुल नहीं चाहिए भाई इसके अंदर. It must be from 50 to 100, as simple as that. I hope everyone would have got this. May I have the confirmation on this, please?
Yes, sir. Done.
Good. लेकिन कोई कोई बंदे फिर भी समझ रहे नहीं है. उसने जाके फिर भी 105 मार्क दे दिए. तो 105 में ऐसा कुछ मैसेज आ रहा है. Now I want to customize this message as well. So again, I would be selecting the data where I want to give this message. Once this data is selected for which this error message is applicable, I would again go to the data validation and I would give the error alert here. Now this error alert will be given at every point of time when someone would be entering the marks which are beyond the range I have given. So you can select the sign of the error as per your requirement. It could be warning, it could be information like this, it could be stop. I want to straight away stop this fellow, you know, and I would be putting title would be nonsense. फिर भी नहीं समझे. एक बार तो हमने उसको मैसेज दे दिया था फर्स्ट टाइम, राइट, व्हेन ही स्टार्टेड एंटरिंग द डेटा. अब मैं उसको नॉनसेंस ना बोलूं तो क्या बोलूं? एंड इन द मैसेज आई वुड बी पुटिंग एक एरर की कीमत तुम क्या जानो रमेश बाबू. एक एरर की कीमत तुम क्या जानो रमेश बाबू. प्रेसिंग ओके. So if someone tries to enter 101 now, pressing enter, nonsense. फिर भी नहीं समझे एक error की कीमत तुम क्या जानो रमेश बाबू. That's visible to everyone. May I have the confirmation on this, please? Once it is done, please let me know through the chat box, please. Good. So I've received it from Miss Hemali, from Mr. Dhruv, Miss Saraswati as well. What about others? May we have the confirmation from them as well? विशाल में नो क्यों आया भाई, क्या हो गया?
સર એ ઓલું એરર વાળું નથી આવતું.
तो डेटा सिलेक्ट करने के टाइम पे थोड़ा मिस्टेक कर दिया होगा, देखो फिर से. पहले डेटा सिलेक्ट करो, फिर जाके करो. या तो फिर पहले तो वैलिडेशन भी देना पड़ेगा ना. वैलिडेशन दिया था कि नहीं दिया था 50 से 100 वाला, वो देख लो.
હા સર એ તો આપ્યું હતું.
अच्छा,
પછી આ એરર મેસેજ નાખ્યો, પછી ઓકે આપ્યું.
फाइन, नो वरीज, देख लो एक बार, ठीक है. आई गेस यू आर मेकिंग सम मिस्टेक देयर.
હમ.
Okay, so that's the data validation. Only one thing is pending in the data validation now is to enter the formula in the data validation, just like we had done in the conditional formatting, you know. While doing the formulas, while taking the formulas, we had done it. In the similar manner, we would be entering the formula in the data validation as well. See, we have just explored the option of numbers right now. If you wanna allow the text range, so say if you can identify the number of letters from this, you know, which one is the shortest name? Can someone tell me? I guess Gopika B is the shortest name. How many letters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 0.7 and B 8. So I guess 8 letter is the minimum, right? So minimum number of letters are 8. And which one is the longest name? May I have the name, please? I guess Hansika Mahesh or Bhavna. Bhavna is the longest one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Point would be 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So from 8 to 15. Now see, this is the range we have decided. You know, you can put 5 to 20, you can put 7 to 20, whatever you want to. Now, if anyone would try to put more number of letters, then again, this restriction, this, you know, data validation should occur. So what can we do? Obviously, the first task is to select the range of the data. And then I would go to the data tab from here. Then we would be selecting the data validation. And in data validation, my dear friends and colleagues, some people would be like, colleagues, कोई बात नहीं, अपने में ज्यादा फर्क नहीं है, 2 3 4 साल का होगा, उससे ज्यादा नहीं होगा, I guess. Then I can go to the text length. And in the text length, I can give the number. Now, number can also be, you know, between, greater than. Now, please do not forget, here you are telling the Excel that what is to be done. It's not like what is not to be done. It's what is to be done. So what is to be done? I would say minimum shall be 8, maximum shall be 15. These are the number of letters you want to allow, text length. So pressing OK. So if you try to enter name like this, which is lesser than 6 letters, it won't allow. And if you try to enter any name which would be more than 15, then also it shouldn't allow. So it's the restriction on the text letters, text length, right? Now the restrictions can be based on the time. The restrictions can be based on the dates. If you have the dates and you do not want to allow any dates which are, you know, beyond the range of the dates you have given, you can use the between over there. और आपको मालूम है कि सर कोई भी डेट ऐसी नहीं देनी है जो 31st ऑफ मार्च के बाद वाली आती हो. So you can use, you know, lesser than or equal to for 31st of March. So it can be explored further for the various tasks. I hope that's pretty much clear to you now. May we have the confirmation, please, again? Good. Okay. So only one thing about the data validation, which is the formula in the data validation, that we'll explore again in the next lecture. So for the lecture, that's it from my side. If you have any queries or doubt where you further require the explanation from my side, let me know, else I'm assuming that you have got it. So next lecture is going to be about the data validation, and we would be exploring the VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and the index match options. Again, the formula based, the functions of the Excel, but if you tell it to any people who are nearby you, who have already got the corporate jobs and who have got some excellence in the Excel, your excellence in the Excel is measured by how you use VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, index match, pivot charts, dashboard making, macros, virtual basic applications. So these are the 6 and 7 particular functions which makes the person the expert of Excel. So till now as well, we have got good exposure about the various functions. But if I tell you specifically for the lectures coming forward, these are going to be extremely technical in nature and which would be purely justifying the title we have given over here. That's the advanced applications of the Excel. So I hope you people would be there in that. That's it from my side. As a mark of your attendance, you may just put the enrollment number in the chat box. So that will be taken for the purpose of record of your attendance, please. Please put your enrollment number, and that's it from my side. Bye bye, take care, sayonara, enjoy your rest of the day. हम है राही प्यार के, फिर मिलेंगे चलते चलते.